and I told them a very clear message: we are coming to get you. And since the early hours of Wednesday morning, that's exactly what we've been doing. We've been going and arresting everybody whose face we can identify on the CCTV and on the images that we have from the dreadful scenes that we saw on Tuesday night. We have thousands and thousands of hours of footage from CCTV, from the fire brigade, from shops, from car parks, and from the cameras that people have been brought in, and from the phones that people have handed over to the police, determined to bring these thugs and these criminals to justice. We will have 100 officers dedicated to searching through that footage, and when we find a face, we will put it on boards like the ones you see behind us, and I will not rest until every face has been identified with a name and we brought those people into custody. Yesterday, 37 people whose faces were caught on camera were arrested by Greater Manchester Police. Today we will catch even more, and tomorrow more after that as well. I said we are coming for you, and I genuinely mean that. This morning, the person who set fire to Miss Selfridge's on this street has been charged and put before the courts. We're asking for extra courts over the weekend because we expect to see more and more people arrested and brought to justice. Even the short time we've been stood here now, two of the faces you see on the screens behind you have been identified to me positively by members of the public and said, I know who that is. And we will keep changing these faces until we run out of faces. And I can tell you, we've got a lot of faces to put on these boards. This weekend and next week, these vans will be driving around Manchester and Salford and parking up. And I want members of the public in Greater Manchester to go out and see them. And if you see a face you recognise, tell us who it is. If you see your face on these boards, hand yourself in. Because the message was simple: we are coming to get you, and you might as well hand yourself in now, because we will not stop. These criminals brought shame upon Manchester and Salford, and the public of Greater Manchester have told me time and time again since Tuesday night that they get behind the city councils, they get behind the communities of Greater Manchester, and they get behind Greater Manchester Police and their commitment to work with us to bring these to justice. I said we are coming to get you, and we are. This is another step in our journey to make sure that these criminals are brought to justice. Please, look at the newspapers, look at the screens, look at the websites, and look out for these vans. When you see a face you recognise, you tell us who it is. If you tell us, we will arrest them. It's as simple as that. Thank you very much indeed.
You must think this is a good idea.
It's a brilliant idea. I mean, look, the public knows who were to blame on Tuesday. It was those limited number, and there were a small number of violent thugs who wanted to trash our city. Most Mancunians deeply resent that. Most Mancunians actually don't think our city should be treated in this way. Manchester's been through some incredibly difficult times in the past, and we're very proud of this great city. To see it brought not quite to its knees is a tragedy. It won't be brought to its knees because the people of Manchester, the police, but everybody else, those council workers who were cleaning up in the early hours of Wednesday morning, gave a very clear message, and we're not prepared to take it.
What areas did your reinforcements come in from to assist with Greater Manchester Police?
On Tuesday night we brought officers in from Northumbria, from Staffordshire, from Cumbria, from Cheshire, all over the northwest. We had officers coming down from Scotland, and they would have got there if the rioting had carried on. They didn't make it because by the time they got here it was all over and done with. But we had police officers from all over the country wanting to come and help us here in Manchester. And I think that is the spirit of what Tuesday was all about. Just as we were wanting to help out the Met over the weekend, just as no matter where it erupts, policing will work at a national level to be able to support each other. Here in Greater Manchester, we had officers giving up their leave, coming in off, ringing in saying, I should be on leave, but I'm going to come in. And I think that's the spirit of what we had here that evening. We had police officers who were prepared to give up their leave, to come in, to put their uniform on, knowing that what they were going to face was the levels of violence that, in fact, they did. And I think, you know, Greater Manchester sends a very strong message to those officers and said, thank you for what we did. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry that some property, you know, was clearly destroyed. And I personally feel for those shopkeepers. And I walked out Wednesday morning and spoke to as many shopkeepers as I could. And I know some people's livelihoods have been destroyed. We did everything we could. We were inundated with levels of criminality. And, you know, in the end, we just didn't have enough officers to keep everyone safe. But we got control. And since then, we've kept control. And we will keep having control until Greater Manchester says it's over. The people of Greater Manchester send a strong message and say we will not accept this level of violence. And I think that's what's happening at this moment in time.
And does your intelligence suggest to you that there may be more trouble on the way, or that this may be an end to the trouble?
Every day we're getting rumour, speculation, and we are responding to as much of that as we possibly can. Just as on Tuesday, we have text messages, there's going to be a riot here, there's going to be a disorder here. We're having these every day. I can guarantee the people of Greater Manchester that we've got more and more resources on the streets. For the last couple of nights, we've kept control, and we will keep having that level of resources over the weekend and into next week, if that's what it takes. Until we feel that the threat has gone, we will keep putting those resources on the streets of Greater Manchester and send a very strong message that Greater Manchester Police, together with its partners, together with all the organisations and together with the public of Greater Manchester, will stand shoulder to shoulder and say no to that level of violence that we saw on Tuesday. It was sickening.
And how would you and your officers describe the level of support you've had from the general public in Greater Manchester and Manchester over these incidents?
Over the last three days, I have read thousands of messages of support via tweeting, via text message, from letters, from emails, and from being stopped on the street by members of the public, and from people you see around me now. And almost unanimously, everyone says, you know what, we're proud of Greater Manchester Police. We're proud of the officers who stood by and took that level of violence. And we support you in doing what we're going to do. And we support you in putting these faces on these boards and asking the public to tell us who they are to bring them to justice. The level of support for what we're doing is so high here in Greater Manchester, and I'm really grateful and thank the public for that.
So actually some good, in an ironic sense, may have come from this, to bring in and galvanising public support with the police and the community of Manchester together against these hoodlums and thugs. You
know, we've been working with the communities of Greater Manchester for many years now, and we've been putting more and more officers into neighbourhood policing teams. And we're working in different ways. We've reduced the level of antisocial behaviour. The level of crime has come down in recent years. The confidence in policing has gone up in recent years too. We've been working so hard, and I wouldn't say any good's come of this because, you know, people got hurt, people are going to go to prison, and shops got wrecked. So no one can describe it as good. But what it does say, what it says very clearly, is that we were getting it right because we had the trust of the public of Greater Manchester, and the response since Tuesday is testament to that, because it says that the Greater Manchester Police have got the mood right and they've got the relationship with the public right, and I think that's what the message says. Nothing's good come of this, but what there is reinforcement of a commitment that working with our communities and commitment to reduce levels of crime and in reducing levels of antisocial behaviour is the thing that the public want us to do.
And do you think you're getting adequate support that you would like from central government?
Clearly we all know that we're facing very challenging economic times at this moment in time. And the police service is taking its part of that. And we're working hard now to try and make savings because that's what we have to do. But our commitment is to try and ensure wherever we can that those savings are not reducing the level of commitment of working on the front line within our communities. So far, I think we've been able to do that. There's big challenges ahead, but we can't ignore the economic situation we're in. What we can say is get the public of Greater Manchester and the Greater Manchester Police and all our partners working closer and closer together to be able to say, you know, when something happens, if we all pull together, it's far easier. But if we don't work together and we have to go out and identify these people on our own, then it takes longer and it takes more resources. The way we're doing it, by asking the public to help us, can allow us to actually do this investigation probably in half the time it would take if it was just us alone. And I think that's the key to this. It's about working smarter with the people and the public of Greater Manchester.
So would you ask David Cameron and the government to rethink the police cutbacks?
That's not for me to say. You know, we all know there's an economic crisis and we know that we all have to play our part. Greater Manchester Police will work within the budget it's set. What's most important is we invest in frontline policing and we invest in the skills of our officers, but most importantly, we invest in improving the way that we work with our partners and improving the way we work with the public. And that's what we've been doing. And that's why antisocial behaviour is down. And that's why crime's down in some of our communities. And that's why, you know, young people are safer in Greater Manchester than they've been, you know, in decades in the past. We are investing in the right activity and the right things to do.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Jim Battle, Deputy Leader of Manchester City Council. Just want to put a question to you today. David Cameron, the Prime Minister, has been in Salford this afternoon, literally probably half a mile from the city centre. He's not taken the time to visit Manchester at all. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, David Cameron's got his own programme. I don't know what it is. It would have been nice to see the Prime Minister in Manchester. We're pleased that the government are now taking our demand seriously about giving proper compensation to businesses who have been badly damaged by the criminal behaviour in Manchester. We had the Leader of the Opposition, Ed Miliband, visit Manchester on Wednesday morning, and we hope that we'll get a government minister visiting us shortly. It'd be useful to have that conversation with the government to talk about how we can make sure, A, that Manchester gets back on its feet, and secondly, this type of thing doesn't happen again.
So you don't regard this as a snub to the people of Manchester then?
Well, I can't say that or not because I've got no detail of it. I'm sure the Prime Minister will have a good reason not to visit Manchester. Obviously a very busy man, but he's welcome to Manchester. He's always welcome here, and we'll be happy to have a conversation with him.
And you're sporting an I Love Manchester t-shirt there, that'd be fitting. What have you actually been involved with in Manchester? Have you been involved with people cleaning up the city centre and organising volunteers?
I was out on Wednesday morning with the volunteers. Fantastic turnout. I've never seen anything like it. It was the Manchester Community Force turnout. We saw thousands of people with their brushes and shovels cleaning up Manchester. That's the type of Manchester we all know and love, and that's the Manchester we're proud of, and that's why I'm sure many people will wear the t-shirt. It probably fit them better than what I'm wearing, but certainly they were very proud to say Manchester's a fantastic place and wear their t-shirt with pride.
And do you feel that people, general public, are genuinely angry about what's happened?
Oh, absolutely. Whilst I've been standing here this morning and I've had my telephone constantly of people saying how angry they are, how annoyed they were that criminals came into Manchester and tried to destroy their city. But Manchester people are very determined, you know. They will not stand by and just let people do this. They're saying, with pride, we will make sure our city's clean. And we're now asking people to come forward with details and information. If they've got any information about those people who committed criminal damage in our city, to come forward, give that information to the police. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be inundated, because Manchester people will not stand by and let this happen.
And do you sense a shift in the psyche of the public around Manchester, that they're not going to put up with this sort of nonsense in future, these thugs and criminal activity taking place in their own city? Well,
I think Manchester people have been like that for a long time, because in Manchester we've often led the way in challenging criminal and antisocial behaviour. And therefore people in Manchester know that the police are there for them. We work very closely in our neighbourhoods to make sure that where there is antisocial behaviour and crime, it is stamped on. We work together in Manchester, council, police and public, to make sure our city is safe. We've made great inroads, and what happened on Tuesday was just outrageous, and we've never seen anything like it. That's why Manchester people are angry, but determined to make sure that our city recovers and is remembered for the good things, not the bad things.